In 2004, the finish of the Daytona 500 looked like this.
The legacy continues. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the 46th Daytona 500.
21 years later, the finish of the Daytona 500 looked like this.
And they crash. Hamlin gets turned into the wall. Oh my gosh.
That wasn't an isolated incident. So far this decade, every single Daytona 500 has featured a big wreck on the final lap. 4 of 6 have finished under caution, and a 5th really should have if not for NASCAR holding the yellow flag back, specifically because of this trend. Beyond this, big wrecks that take out a large chunk of the field have become even more common than before, best exemplified by the first half of this 6-race span. 17, 11, and 15 cars finished on the lead lap in 2020, 2021, and 2022 respectively. The Great American Race has become a modern war of attrition, not fighting through issues with one's own car, but trying to avoid getting collected by other cars in a never-ending series of big ones. Today, I want to learn why this has happened to the Daytona 500, more specifically, to its finish. But in order to figure that out, we'll have to look at the rest of the W's. In late 2010, the Daytona International Speedway was repaved for the second time in its then 52-year history. The first repave, in 1978, saw the original racing surface stay in place, and the new asphalt was simply layered on top of it. This preserved most of the character of the track, and there was plenty to preserve, since pavement laid in the late 1950s was never going to be perfectly smooth in the first place. In the coming decades, the 500 became a test of handling, and no one could even think of contending for the win if they had a poor handling race car. 32 years on, a racetrack that had come to be defined by its famous bumps reached a breaking point, literally, as the asphalt broke apart during the second half of the Daytona 500. Following that year's July race, the pavement that had been in place since the very beginning was torn up and replaced by a brand new, jet black, smooth as can be racing surface. The impact on the race was felt immediately. The track was so smooth that bump drafting became the dominant style of the 2011 500, so much so that the grills were altered in 2012 to prevent it. 2013 brought with it the Gen 6 car, and handling issues had fallen by the wayside. These days, if you're fast enough to make the Daytona 500, you've got a decent shot of being in the lead pack at the end. With age, the Speedway is beginning to wear and get some bumps back into it, but not as much and not in the same way that it used to. Daytona will likely be smoother than it was in 2010 forever. But it's not a complete crapshoot. Plate racing is still very much a skill set, though perhaps not the same skill set as the Daytona of old. Take Denny Hamlin, for example. You don't win 3 Daytona 500s by accident. Michael Waltrip and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also come to mind. 8 combined Cup Series wins, all of them on plate tracks. Even Trevor Bayne, one-time Cup winner on the biggest stage, didn't really luck into it. He was excellent at bump drafting all week, with Jeff Gordon even wanting to work with him. If bump drafting was never done away with, who knows how his career could have turned out. A few years after Bayne's big day, the very fabric of the sport would change. NASCAR moved from the 10-race chase that had been in place since 2004 to a 16-driver elimination system to decide its champion. Most of the format's details aren't relevant to the Daytona 500, except for one: win and you're in. A race win automatically granted a driver entry into the chase, later known as the playoffs. This upped the stakes at every race, though I have my doubts that it changed anything at the 500. The Daytona 500 has always been the most prestigious race on the NASCAR calendar. In terms of accomplishment, it's second only to the series championship itself. Desperation to win has always driven people to do crazy things, dating back to the first flag-to-flag televised 500 in 1979. I think it's safe to say, based on this, that the win and you're in system isn't the main culprit behind what's happened to the Daytona 500, but we'll have an excellent control sample this year, since that system has been discontinued for 2026. After the 2009 race was shortened by rain, the next 5 500s finished under green, and almost all of those saw whoever got the jump on the final restart take the checkered flag. In 2015, this trend looked like it would continue until the field jumbled itself up and crashed on the final lap. The next year, Denny Hamlin muscled Matt Kenseth out of the way in Turn 4 on his way to a photo finish. After that, Kurt Busch took the lead in Turn 2 when Kyle Larson ran out of fuel. This, as of the 2025 race, was the last time that consecutive Daytona 500s ended under green. 2018 saw the climactic move end in smoke in the entrance to Turn 3. 2019 returned to the old pattern of the leader at the final restart winning, while in 2020 the leader out of Turn 4 was sent flying into the air heading into the tri-oval. In 2021, the leaders ran over each other heading into Turn 3, while 2022 stayed with the green flag pattern. In 23, the field wrecked in Turn 1 behind the leaders, and the 2024 race barely made it to the white flag, as the front of the field wrecked in the tri-oval with a lap to go. Last year, the entire field blew up on the backstretch, but the yellow never technically came out. Of these 16 races, 5 ended with a crash amongst the leaders. Do you notice a pattern amongst these 5? They all wrecked entering a corner, 3 entering Turn 3, and 2 entering the tri-oval. It feels like as the field speeds down a straightaway in the last lap, they build up a ton of energy that ends up getting released in the form of a crash. Perhaps it's due to the conventional auto racing logic that the entrance of a corner is the best place to attempt a pass. But this phenomenon is fairly recent. You also might notice that of the 16 races, these 5 all happened within the last 8 years. This phenomenon isn't exclusive to the end of the race, or even the 500 for that matter. The montage you're watching now is from all 4 of NASCAR's yearly superspeedway races over the past decade. But the current state of chaos wouldn't stake its flag into the 500 until one very specific flashpoint. I believe there's one moment when the Daytona 500 became what it is today. Austin Dillon ran over Eric Almirola on the last lap of the race. Or did he? Let's take a look at this crash from another angle. Upon further observation, this looks more like a bad block from Almirola than a dump from Dillon. Dillon couldn't exactly slow down because Bubba Wallace was right behind him and Joey Logano was right behind him. Eric moved up before swiping down in front of Dillon, so any remaining speed advantage he might have had was gone. Dillon tries to move back to the high side, and Eric tries and fails to shut the door. But thanks to Fox, the fans wouldn't reach this conclusion. They cut to an onboard from Almirola looking back at Dillon halfway through the block and obscured the audience's view of the crash. But what was Almirola supposed to do in this situation? If he lets Dillon get to his outside, Dillon will more than likely run away with the win. Dropping down low might destroy any hopes of winning, since there's no momentum down there. At this moment, there seems to be no winning move. It's either crash or finish second. Following the alterations to the Gen 6 Superspeedway package, this philosophy would be entrenched. Though no driver would be put in check quite as much as Almirola was, the incredible closing rate of the cars would cause the results in 2020 and 2021 to be the same. The advent of the next-gen car didn't do much to fix this problem. 2022 ran clean until the last moment, and 2023 had its own issues, but the last 2 500s have both seen drivers in the second row running over the leaders on the final lap, ending the race with a huge crash. Somebody has to cross the line first in all this nonsense. Who did? Austin Dillon's Daytona 500 triumph was his second career Cup Series win, of the 6 he's earned over his 12-year Cup career. One could, and some do, make the case that all 6 of his wins shouldn't have been his. Fuel mileage, wrecking the leader, pit strategy and a hard-to-pass aero package, the entire field wrecking and him squeaking through, wrecking everybody in Turn 4, and an allegedly stolen car setup. Of course, the only people who would make all of these cases are those with a pre-existing dislike of Dillon. In their eyes, a fraudulent driver fraudulently won the 500. At the same time, get real. Somebody who deserves 0 Cup wins is not gonna luck into 6 of them. In 2020, Denny Hamlin, a driver with 2 previous 500s to his name in the last 4 years, beat Ryan Blaney to the line as Ryan Newman flipped into the air. In 24 and 25, William Byron won back-to-back 500s by being the one in the lead when everything fell apart, first behind him and then in front of him. Between these two, things get a little odd. Michael McDowell claimed his first Cup win ever at the 2021 500, something that's not unheard of. 7 drivers got their first Cup win in the 500 before he did, with Mario Andretti, Sterling Marlin, and Michael Waltrip among them. But before McDowell, this had only happened twice in the 21st century. In 2022, it would happen for the second year in a row. Austin Cindric won his first Cup race at the 500. Since this race, he's only won twice more, once at Gateway and once at Talladega. In 23, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., someone who has only ever won at superspeedways, won the 500. his fourth and most recent win. In the 8 years before 2018, 2 Daytona winners had single-digit career win totals, Jamie McMurray and Trevor Bayne. Over the next 8 years, this would double. Just 2 star drivers, Hamlin and Byron, have won the 500 in the 2020s, and one of them has won in the racing equivalent of a roulette wheel twice in a row. In the eyes of many fans, the Daytona 500 is not what it once was. After examining the rest of the W's, I think I'm ready to answer today's central question. Why has the Daytona 500's last lap become such a wreckfest? When the Daytona International Speedway was repaved, flattening the surface of the track, it created the conditions that allowed cars to run inches from each other with far less of an issue. The pressure builds as both the race and the track straightaways get closer to their end. The field gets more and more antsy leading into the corners, and this tension would grow year after year, eventually leading to the moment where everything changed. The end of the 2018 race, where Austin Dillon and Eric Almirola came together heading into Turn 3, and the camera angle obfuscated who was to blame. Since then, the aero package of the cars has been adjusted multiple times, but it has always led to the same conclusion: the front runners crashing at the end of a straightaway on the last lap of the race. The winner of the race began to feel like it was picked out of a hat, even when it was a star like William Byron. 7 Daytona 500s have been run since Dillon and Almirola came together, and 4 of them have ended in a front-runner wreck. An additional one, 2023, ended with a wreck in the middle of the pack, one that didn't have a hope in hell of becoming iconic thanks to Clint Bowyer's undisguised disappointment towards how it turned out.
Larson tried to go to the middle. Oh, he got turned.
The other 2 races in this span saw the leader at the final restart win the race. The only finish this decade without a massive crash or race-ending caution was 2022. Hopefully, that finish will serve as a reminder that the end of the 500 doesn't have to look like this. By no means is the Daytona 500 too far gone. Looking past 2022, the 2 races immediately preceding 2018 were the fuel mileage battle of 2017 and the photo finish of 2016. All it'll take to get back to that is a little luck, and for the field to keep their heads on their shoulders when the white flag flies.